Hey, do you want to hear something scary? Gotcha, Sapphire. These are the top 5 creepiest pastas. You thought I was the creepiest thing on the internet? Ha ha ha, I'm close. A lot of people like to disparage creepypastas because they don't think that they're scary, but open your heart, open your mind, turn off them lights, and let me prove the haters wrong. Number 5, Jeff the Killer. Oh my God, look at the guy! It is unsurprising that when that picture surfaced on the internet, a lot of lore started popping up surrounding it, but nobody actually knows the origin story of that dude. One theory is that if you look at this picture of Jeff the Killer for too long, he will find you and murder you for no other reason than he likes to murder. But guess what? It ain't true. Tired of all the conspiracy theories and blatant lies, 4chan's forum, X, went on a fact-finding mission to find out who this Jeff guy really is. Turns out, it was a marketing ploy from the Saw films, which makes sense because he looks a lot like Jigsaw with his mask off. It's just really upsetting. It's kind of a bummer. Number 4, footsteps. Footsteps is a story of a young boy who hears footsteps in his sleep. He thinks that it's his heartbeat in his pillow, but then he starts to hear it all the time. When the little boy told his mother about the footsteps, she tried to help him by clearing his ears out with a turkey baster full of water, but he continued to hear them for years. Not only did he hear footsteps, but sometimes in the middle of the night he would wake up in places he did not go to sleep in. He had a bunk bed, and sometimes when he would go to sleep on the bottom bunk, he would wake up on the top bunk or wake up on the floor, you know, things that are unusual but not frightening. Until finally, one night, he woke up in a place he did not recognize. The woods. That's not a bed, for sure. Well, to bears it is. He stood up and tried to run home, but there was no home to be seen, and the entire fields were covered in thorns, so every time he took a step, he would step on another thorn. Yikers. He walked for what seemed to him like miles, but when he looked around, he found he was 10 feet from where he woke up. He, like the good Boy Scout he was, found the North Star, what he thought was the North Star, and started walking towards that. Finally, he saw the lights of his home and started running towards it. When he finally reached his house, he felt 2 arms pull him back from his front porch. He screamed, not recognizing who this person was, and when he turned around, he found that those 2 arms were attached to a cop. That's even scarier. Apparently, he had been missing for days. When the cop finally brought him back into the house, his mother was crying tears of joy, saying, "Never do that to me again. Please never do that to me again. I'm so glad you're home." And the little boy was like, "I have no idea what you're talking about, Mom. I have been gone for like 2 hours. Chill out." And she was like, "Actually, son, you wrote me a letter saying that you were running away." Upon reading the letter, the little boy realized that his name was misspelled. Do you get it? He didn't write the note? Do you get it? Who wrote that letter? Who put him in the woods? Who's making him fall asleep? Whose fucking footsteps are in his ear holes? That is one creepypasta. Number 3, Suicidal Squidward. Dogged do I hate this one. Yes, I do hate this one. There's a legend of a missing Spongebob Squarepants episode wherein Squidward kills himself. Horrifying? Absolutely. Is that the worst part? No. Somehow it's not. The episode starts out in a pretty typical way. Squidward is playing the clarinet at a concert hall when SpongeBob starts annoying him as per usual. He yells at SpongeBob to skedat when Sponge and Co pretend to leave. As Squidward wraps up the concert, SpongeBob and the rest of the audience start to boo him loudly. Oh yeah, and all their eyes were glowing red, so that's pretty cool and fine and totally not freaky at all, right? The next scene is Squidward sitting on his bed alone, crying. As his cries get louder, the camera zooms in on his face when suddenly the screen glitches. Well, that glitch was a flashing image, and that flashing image was, you guessed it, murder. I don't know if you guessed that, but it was murder. If you freeze that glitch at exactly the right moment, you will see an image of a little girl face down in a pool of her own blood with one eyeball hanging out. Then we flash back to Squidward with human bleeding eyes staring into the screen. Suddenly, we hear a deep voice laughing maniacally off camera. The soundtrack cuts out and there's silence until you hear that same deep voice say in a whisper, "Do it." And then Squidward shoots himself in the head. We can all agree that Squidward is kind of a wet blanket, but nobody wants to see that guy die. No. No. Okay. It's okay to have a breakdown, but it ain't okay to shoot yourself. So I'm gonna Weird Al this shit and make it less killy. So how about instead of do it, the guy off camera says eat it? Because I'm pretty sure that we can all agree that eating your feelings is very normal and healthy. Normal. That's a message we can all get behind. Eat your feelings. Nom nom, nom. I am eating, nom nom. Number 2, Russian sleep experiment. The Russian sleep experiment hits a little too close to home for me. As you know, or should know by now,
the government hates you!
The government hates you! With that in mind, the Russian sleep experiment was an experiment wherein Russians kept people awake for far too long. Oh, you stayed awake for a long time? Haha, I went to college too. Oh, it was because of gas-based stimuli? I haven't done that yet, but I am open to new experiences. In the 1940s, Russian researchers quarantined 5 political prisoners who were deemed enemies of the state. The prisoners were told that they would be freed if they complied and stayed awake for 30 days. Lies! After the prisoners were like, oh yeah, that sounds dope, the researchers locked them in a chamber and then pumped the chamber full of stimulant gas. After 5 days, the subjects stopped talking to each other completely and only communicated via whispering into the room microphones. After 9 days, a man started screaming on the top of his lungs until his vocal cords split, which is creepy. But the creepiest part of it is that nobody else in the room seemed to react to his screaming. But I get that. That's me, like every day. Annie. What? Hey. 12 days later and the men were silent. The researchers had to check the microphones in the room because the silence was so impressive. When they announced that they were going to come into the chamber to check the microphones, they asked the prisoners to step away from the door. They said that compliance would earn one of them freedom. To the researchers' surprise, they heard one calm voice coming through the microphone saying, "We no longer want to be freed." The researchers decided to open the doors on the 15th day. The stimulating gas was flushed out and fresh air was funneled in. The subjects screamed loudly. They begged for them to keep the gas flowing, and when the soldiers went in to retrieve the prisoners, they found that the food rations had gone untouched for 5 days. All 4 surviving prisoners, PS1 died, had chunks of skin and muscle ripped from their bone in seemingly self-inflicted injuries. Their guts had been removed and their rib cages were exposed, yet all of them were still alive. Except that one who died. He was still dead. It was made clear to the researchers that the prisoners had been ingesting their own flesh. The researchers brought the prisoners out of the chamber and put them into surgery to help patch up their wounds. But when they tried to give the prisoners anesthetic, they refused it. When they underwent surgery, they felt every single cut, every single blade, and they fucking loved it. Even after surgery, the prisoners were begging to be put back into the chamber. They said they needed the gas and they would not stop yelling about it. They sealed the remaining subjects back into the chamber along with 3 researchers. The yelling annoyed one of the researchers so much that he took out a gun and shot the prisoners, convinced that they were monsters. Before shooting the last prisoner, the researcher asked, "What are you?" To which the prisoner replied, "Have you forgotten so easily? We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread." So, I guess the moral of the story is, go to sleep or else you'll eat yourself? Number 1, Slenderman. I am Slenderman. We all know the lore of the Slenderman, but if you don't, essentially he is a big dude wearing a suit, lives in the woods, has a thing for kids. He's like 8 feet tall and has no face, although some people do say that his face appears differently to everybody who sees him in person. Here's some coolness for your asses. The Slenderman dates all the way back to 1497, where a picture of what was thought to be the Grim Reaper without his cloak surfaced. Although I have a hard time believing this because we all know that the Grim Reaper is a 16-year-old girl named Tiffany. So, get hip, 1497. Here's the whackness of it all. People be killing for this creepy thin man. And I'm not talking cool Crispin Glover creepy thin man. No siree, no ma'am. Now this is some real life business for you. In 2014, two 12-year-old girls tried to murder their friend in the name of the Slenderman. They stabbed her 19 times, and somehow this young queen survived, and her two idiot ex-friends are just now, in 2017, going to trial. I don't like anything that perpetuates violence, so I decided to create new lore surrounding the Slender Man that both me and my baby Satan can get behind. Give me that new-new. Give me that new-new. Deep in the woods of Los Angeles, California, lives a tall, beautiful man with long brown locks, flowing chest hair, and no face. Don't get me wrong, he's still a creepy monster, just a monster with chest hair. And instead of summoning kids to the forest to do his evil bidding, he summons kids to the forest to do my not as evil bidding. And all I ask of slightly slender but still pretty strong man is just a lot of fried chicken. He'll lure children to the forest and he'll send them off in shifts to get me fried chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy and coleslaw and biscuits. And then I'll eat them and that's the end of the story. Ooh, creepypasta! Thanks, slightly slender but still strong man. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what your favorite creepypasta is. Subscribe to Snarled. Check out other videos. Eat some chicken. Wow, juicy. That was juices like squirted in my like a gusher.